Alright, so I was watching Parker-Spitzer again yesterday, and they had this person on, Dana Loesch, who is a conservative, I guess, Tea Party type, and I just wanted to make a video about it because I feel like these type of people make a limited government movement as a whole, I guess, look horrible. And the reason for that is, like, she just would not give a straight answer to questions asked, right? She would go roundabout, and it's just go off on little tangents, which you could somewhat get a feel for what she believed in, but she just wouldn't give a straight answer, and I hate it when people don't give straight answers, and it seemed like she couldn't really handle it. And and Elliot Spitzer there is clearly on the quote-unquote liberal side, right? Modern-day liberal, and he's pretty good about grilling people who have who come onto the show and they interview. And so, like, for example, one of the things he asked her is, like, where would you cut? And he listed some things like military spending, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And, of course, she didn't want to cut from military just because it's in the Constitution and we can spend on it, right? I guess in her mind, therefore, we can spend as much as we want on it, right? We can have a totalitarian state as long as it's only spending on military, right? Anyways, but she didn't say that. I'm just, saying that's kind of the attitude she seemed to have, because she seemed very reluctant to say she would cut from the military spending. And when it came to Social Security, I think it was, she said it's broke already, blah blah, and then just went on. And like and Elliot Spitzer says that doesn't answer the question, And she said she did, but no, she's wrong. That does not answer the question, right? Just because you say something's broke does not mean that you are saying you would cut spending on that program, right? So even if she meant to say it, she didn't say it. I think towards the end she might have. I really don't remember, but yeah, that was just really horrible. She was just mentioning different programs. I think she mentioned 2 or 3 programs that were, well, she said they're broke. They're not broke right now. They're going broke, but which of course makes her wrong. But and that's another thing. People need to fact check, especially it seems like conservatives always are up on their talking points rather than actual data, right? And it's pretty irritating, and especially if you're a limited government type of person, you go on, watch the news, and you see them have these people on there, it just makes everyone else look horrible. But by the same token, I think a lot of conservatives, I guess in the rank and file, so to speak, of voters, are like that. They just go by talking points. The same thing with the other side, same thing with the liberals. And so I think eventually he got her to say she would cut from there. And I think Department of Education, or like I said, I can't really remember, but it was lackluster, to say the least. And one other thing was they were talking about, she said that she did not like any time the government, let me go back a little bit. Elliot Spitzer asked Dana Loesch, Dana Loesch, if she would repeal if she was in power, she would repeal the regulations on banks after the, I guess, financial debacle. And she said she doesn't like any time the government regulates the private sector. And so Elliot Spitzer, rightly so, asked her if she would repeal the Civil Rights Act. And then she was like, I never said that. And he's like, well, I'm just saying because you said you didn't like any time the government regulated the private sector, and that prevents private businesses from letting in, or rather, it lets private businesses do what they want on their private property and not allow certain people into their businesses. And she said, you're going to use a racist argument? And right, I mean, that was her comeback, right? That was just terrible. And of course, Elliot Spitzer, rightly so, said, no, I'm using the plain language of what you said. You said you didn't like any time the government regulated the private sector. The Civil Rights Act regulates the private sector, regulates what people can do with their private property, regulates private businesses. And so Elliot Spitzer was perfectly right in that. That does regulate the private sector. Now, as a libertarian, I would say, like some parts of the act are probably good and others are probably not, right? But it's kind of, I don't know, it misses the point, I guess, sometimes when you're an advocate for abolishing the state. But one of the things I find interesting is, obviously you can't get to a completely free society overnight, so there are things you can do to make the state more efficient at serving the customers, in this case, voters, citizens, in the meantime. And I think the Civil Rights Act, for the most part, did that, although I do not support that part that did regulate private businesses. I do think You're a private business like a house, right? You own your house, you shouldn't be forced to have to let just anyone in willy-nilly. Now, as a simple matter of fact, businesses that do let in extra customers will be able to make more profits. So the market has natural incentives to have integration in their businesses, but racial integration, unless the clients don't like it, right? But it turns out, I think I was reading an article. Actually, I read one in one article, but unfortunately, I can't remember off the top of my head. That says in most cases this hasn't been the case, and when it was, the businesses generally still hired people of other ethnic or racial groups, but they just worked in the back where no one would see them. So either way, you don't really need that kind of a thing to have a racial and ethnic integration in society. And one of the libertarian ways to combat that kind of thing would just to be start your own business. And if you let more people into your business, then you're going to make more profit, and then you're going to take market share from the larger businesses. But of course, they have trouble with that these days because of the barriers to entry created by regulation itself, which introduces higher startup costs. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video to say that this Dana Loesch person just did a horrible job, using talking points instead of data and reality. But I guess that's the best you'll get on TV, and unfortunately, I think that's actually the best you'll get out of any conservative. Yeah, I'm not really pleased with the way the Tea Party's going and stuff. Like, it just seems like it went way downhill. And it seems to me like social conservatism is on the rise within the Tea Party movement, which is another reason to disassociate from them. At the very least, I think libertarians should not be allies with anyone other than on specific issues. So we can form coalitions on specific issues to get things done that we want done. For example, Ron Paul sponsoring bills with Barney Frank, even though they are opposite ends of the ideological spectrum. But you can form a coalition on whatever, as long as it's a specific issue, instead of allying yourself with a group as a whole. Because if you ally yourself with a group as a whole, you might be tied to certain decisions that you may not agree with. So yeah, I just felt like saying that, and also saying that Dana Loesch did a horrible job, and that's it.